am the Bard of Broadstairs, and that means I do poetry. So, pull up a comfy chair. I've oriented to the masses, but if you'd like, I'll specially orientate to you every now and again. Okay, here we go. So I've been performing poetry in Broadstairs now for just over a year. It's my great honour this year to be made the official Blues Bash poet in something like that. And ever since then, my life has been changed. What have I got in common with Adele and Elvis Presley?
Slimmer than both.
Yeah, well, Elvis is a little bit lighter now. We've all paid residencies, and I'm the odd one out because I've made millions from mine. But what have I got in common with the Beatles? This is a fantastic piece of trivia. The Beatles were the last act to play 6 dates in a row in Thanet, and that was 60 years ago. So I don't know whatever happened to them, but well, there you go. So anybody familiar with the work of John Cooper Clarke?
Yeah.
Now, John Cooper Clarke, I'm vaguely acquainted with him, and he had a conversation with a friend of ours called Martin Newell about what makes a good poet. And a good poet reads other poets, but a really good poet reads other poets, deconstructs them and parodies them. So this, with all due reverence, is a love song or an homage to John Cooper Clarke. Will you let me be your Johnny Clark? I want to be the dog that barks, will be the voices in the dark, watching box sets of Poldark. Will you let me be your school caretaker, your Saturday night defibrillator, which you I'll be the masticator, could you be my blotting paper? Will you be forever home and call not text, it's called a phone, expect to give the dog a bone, on your coffee I'll be the foam. Will you react favourably, put the baton in boulangerie, read my poems out in threes, foreplay horizontally? Will you love me like a horse? I've got the house brand special sauce, eat kimchi till my voice is hoarse, our loving will be coarse, of course. Will you be my final date? I am implying mortal mate, don't delay, don't hesitate, might not be bad, might not be great. Will you listen to me moan, on shimishi shat that bird has flown, I want to pack my dripping phone in your sack of sushi rice. Yeah, well, you know. That's yeah. Oh, is it raining? Well, that pitter patter. Any cyclists? You know, the lycra type. No. Yeah, at the corner of my eye, I saw a little pupil dilation, suggesting there might be one in the room. Well, anyway, this is dedicated to you or anybody you know who wears lycra to cycle. This is called Lunchbox. A peloton of cyclists, all bikes and extra chains and special pants with seats built in, filled up the high-speed train. They'd hurtled down from London, sharp stop before the sea, and now we're going home again with curry sauce for tea. Despite their cleats and studs and socks, that ride at times was hell. Now for relief it's Bee Gees songs and gargling San Miguel. The bants were Chips and Strava, camaraderie of men. Eased into lycra, little caps, it's dress-up time again. There used to be a beer festival in Margate, which was, I think it was a mass government experiment, because it was populated by about 1,500 to 2,000 men who had been convinced that the more they drank, the more sexually attractive they'd become. And as a result, over 20 years, they came to the conclusion that they'd better stop the beer festival because the birth rate in Thanet was just staying stable. You may recognise yourself or your neighbour. He's knocking back another pint, he doesn't want an awful sight, he thinks that he will last the night. He won't, that's what his friends know. Now his jokes are getting louder, hopes his friends have got some powder, really couldn't be more prouder as his bladder starts to blow. The room's now moving round him, 2 more pints follow, down his chin, the lights inside him are getting dim, he won't be going yet though. Oh, just one more, I'll get these all. Here, mate, no, go on, here's a score or anything but get some crisps. He drops his glass, falls on his arse, can't find his bus pass. I'm going home. Then in his chair, kebab in hair. He didn't pull, was just a dare, I didn't fancy her, no. At 3 a.m, like other men who think that when they're drunk, they let the pain go. Remembers shouts, the knockabouts, and guts in doubt. He hates to get this low. He's reaching for the whiskey. Thank you. I come from North East Essex, which 50 years, 50 what? Yeah, 50 years ago it was quite a different place. It was almost Suffolk, and as such, it had a regional accent that occasionally you get glimpses of. So I'm going to try and abuse that memory now and read a poem inspired by Martin Newell's Meter. Twisted round her little finger, half a clown and part-time singer, high wire act, bit of a minger, ex-stunt double, corporal clinger. Found him dead in an acrobat, diclofenac spread round flat, duvet bunch round plates of meat, fish for dinner, special treat. This is what the papers spat, found him dead with an acrobat. Hoping for a decent send-off, garage flowers, hacking cough, skin on fire, heart of ice, try the rhubarb, really nice. Elephant's ears, Dactari's trunk, gluten-free, still got him drunk. No one knew, but no one asked, thought that he'd been played for laughs. Tried his best, then failed at that. Ready reckoned, scored as twat. Didn't mean to hurt the cat, found him dead with an acrobat. Found him dead with an acrobat. Went in first, but last to bat. The dirty, rotten, stinking rat. Found him dead with an acrobat. It's great. This is the fifth night on my fifth field night. It's the fifth one I've done in my Misjudging Your Audience tour 2023. So thanks for bearing with me. I do not want to die an old man's death. I want to die alive. The only fear I want to feel is the one on the thrill of the ride. Let me die before I fail, even if I don't succeed. Allow me grace and freedom from unpleasantness and need. Do not think of me when I stop. I'm gone and won't come back. There's nothing left and no one here once I'm dead, and that's the fact. Do it now while I'm alive. Hate me, love me, cry. Kiss my hand, spit in my eye. Fight me, sing to me, tell me your lies. You cannot do that when I've died, so do whatever now. There are no returns or refunds made. Don't say you didn't try. Everybody, oh, thank you. It's very kind. It's very kind. It's like a poor man's fan, you know, as in like the air movement. But get a little closer if you fancy doing that. Ever had an argument with somebody where you will, after the fact, concede you may have exaggerated a bit? Yeah. Oh well. It's a true story. This one. This is called Exaggerate Your Love. How many times did we fight last night? 15 billion times. How many times did you shout, I'm right, 1,000,000 trillion times? How many times did I threaten to leave? I might. 1,000 zillion times. How many times did you put out the big light? Just once. Anybody from the Midlands? Oh God. This one, it kind of works best. It kind of works best in a Brum or a bad Brummie Black Country accent. So I'm going to butcher that now for you. So if nothing else, you can feel nostalgic or insulted and get an emotional reaction. Arriving by coach from the Midlands, they're excited, no nervous, well anxious, and the glue that locks up their hands is the hope that she's a little less thankless. They will tell her of their lovely journey, except for that man who was sick, and ask if they have real chips here, do they cut them right proper and thick? Leatherette case they bought online, Cooper's catalogue fell from the mail, now it's used twice a year if they're lucky, and the stitching's beginning to fail. This time it's to their oldest daughter, not inclined though to see them at all. She's something high up in that crypto, which explains why she never quite calls. They've no choice but to come to the city. It's not friendly or happy or green, but there's somebody famous from TV in a show which they'll boast that they've seen. On the journey back home to the quiet, the pains in her voice, hush dear, don't. There's our son, he's another high flyer. I'm sure he'd like a visit. He won't. Now, is that applause for the accent or the poem? Bit of both. That's about as good. Oh good, I like the poem, but I'm going to see my lawyer afterwards. Do you remember being at, possibly at school, and you were put off doing something you quite enjoyed, painting, making models, whatever it was, and you get dissuaded, and you're crestfalls, and you think, well, I won't do that anymore, the teacher said I wasn't any good at it. But you keep that alive, and later on in life, if you're lucky, you get to rekindle it. This is for you. I am not a painter. A real painter said I ain't. My technique is not so refined, yet all the same I paint. I am not a writer. A real writer told me that, but I put down so many words they come to me like chat. I am not a dancer. A real dancer mock my pose, but I move to the rhythm though and feel it in my toes. I am not an artist. A real artist makes real art. It's not for me to self-label and put horse before the cart. I am not a poet. A poet told me so. I do not have a self-published book of my poems coming out, and my poems rhyme. I am though quite contented, because I do not give a jot. I scribble like a man demented, and that, my friends, your lot. I was a rich woman's plaything. At the click of her fingers, I'd come. When she wanted to get my attention, she'd manoeuvre me under her thumb. I was willing to join in the action and would dance for amusements and mood, and if given a decent incentive, would trade for excitement quite rude. With a kiss is how she dismissed me, or perhaps more precisely a peck, with the prospect of something vague later when I'd healed up the holes in my neck. At the root of our trouble was money, that she had it and I never would, though I had something else that she wanted. More than wealth is what I understood. You know what? It's really, really, really nice when people just applaud a little bit like that, and they're on that edge of nervous or embarrassed or guilty or just forgetting what they're doing. I went to I did one the other day, and it's one of those things where they say, right, we don't have clapping here because some people don't like the noise. Noise? Fantastic. Yeah, so we wave, right? And no, seriously, so you do a poem, deeply emotional, you look up and everybody's going, hi! And first time it happened, I thought, well, they've had enough, I'm off. And no, that was raucous applause. Me, I'm old school, I like any kind of sound at all. In fact, I was heckled by a ringtone yesterday. I did a poem, and exactly at the end, somebody's bastard phone went off. And of course, they had to have a frog, didn't they? So I'm sitting there going, there's a movement, going, rabbit, rabbit. But I thought, how did a frog get into the chapel quick before it's served? Let's have a look and find something. Do you fancy something soppy?
Yes.
Okay. Not another one about lycra underpants, no. We didn't catch fire. I'm sorry. The tinder did not take the spark. No worries. Fast or slow, in the end it's a no-go. Shake my hand, not my world, it's a chow. I calculate that if you wait, you'll see that in the sea there's more than a few waiting for you, far more suitable than me. There's nothing missed or lacking, just planets unaligned. Our merits, charms and qualities remain for others yet to find. In our races to the heavens, the thermals were pajamas. Be glad we nipped the rose head. We've sidestepped endless dramas. Pam Ayres. Oh, gold, yeah. Pam Ayres is a curious reaction in people. It can range from, oh, I love her, to, oh, God, no. And I think fascinating. I think she's brilliant. So you can have a choice of Pam Ayres poems. There's one about going to see Pam Ayres, or there's one in which I imagine what Pam Ayres would do. Which one do you fancy? Don't say. Right, we're going to get the one that's at hand. I was driving in Wiltshire late one night when an animal ran in front of the car. And my friend Helen, she goes, was that a stoat? I thought, I've no idea, how would I know if it was a stoat or not? But what would Pam say? So, at the risk of it sounding like Ernie the Milkman by Benny Hill, this is Pam. Pam's treatment of that road traffic incident. Oh my word, I said out loud when I was driving home. Is that a stoat I saw ahead, standing in the road? I rather hope it wasn't, as I think I mowed it down. Might have been a fox, I suppose. Not in this part of town. Can't be helped, I'll clean the tires, there's not much else to do, as Mr. Stoat or Mrs. Stoat won't ever make the news. I expect that you are thinking now this is not one of her wittiest poems. There's no obvious gag or punchline coming and you think I'd best be going. I wasn't being sweet and rustic enough, coming over cynical, blasé. There's more to life than my teeth and old man, but that stuff it doesn't well pay. But here's to all the trivia that life is mostly made of, when you don't look out for the big stuff, like justice, peace and kindness, and in my case, a stoat. Thank you. I think we've established the level now. Okay, so the second biggest challenge for any poet today, the first one being people come into a pub or see it on the door, they go, poet, no, I'd rather sit in the middle of the road and take my chances with the traffic, is that if you write anything that's apparently about a person, whoever you're dating goes, is that about me? And you have to say, no, quite often, because if it was about you, one of us would have to be in care by now. This is the exception, though. This is a poem written about a woman. It's called Pork Pie Penny, because her name was Pauline, and she asked me to change it. But as she dumped me, this is about Pauline, and it's called Pork Pie Penny. Let me rhyme you about Pork Pie Penny. She's a girl who likes her meat, but insists that these are her salad days and the pastry's just a treat. Some people think that she's quite mad. They say she's way past barking. They're right, she comes from Upminster. Her sense of humour, sparkling. It's not all go for Pork Pie Penny. Sometimes she's soporific. It doesn't matter, she'll wake up and return to being terrific. On Just 4 Coffees, Pork Pie Penny is everybody's tonic. It must be said that her laughs are snorts, which makes that pork pie quite ironic. Yeah, it's a little giggle. I'm getting that frisson, you know. It's not the Mexican wave I had on Sunday, but that's because everybody was really pissed by them and didn't want to go home. It's the little achievements in life that make you feel good, really, aren't they? Like returning an item to Amazon.
I'm getting your money back.
Then get your money back. This is called Return to Sender. No, it's not the Elvis song, obviously. Returning your item is easy. Just scan this QR code and send. We'll forget all about your decision. Just remember to like us, my friend. While you're looking, perhaps now consider something else wrapped in cardboard and tape. Please allow us to show you your wishes, even bulk buying tats and escape. It won't feel like you've spent any money. You've just scratched a small itch that you felt. We will meet your desires in an instant. Understand them if slightly misspelt. We've a new special offer for you now, something you never thought you would need. It's as easy as clicking a button, and we've mutually fed endless greed. And while you're here, did you leave an item in the basket? A proper sonnet, a Shakespearean sonnet, 3 quatrains and an heroic couplet. Still with me? Good. A, B, C, D, E, F, rhyming scheme, 10 syllables. Yeah, no, you're passing out already, aren't you? Okay. This is called Sonnet Number 1. I do love you. I do not have more words. We are as one when in a quiet moment that reaches into where I'm less absurd, I do not know how to be more potent. In touch, return to when we first it knew, there was no one who went more in the world than me to them, now I to you, all true. Wrapped in arms we stood, stand, curled, tight secure. Same as the child naive, I'm innocent. They loved your bones and flesh and hair and breath, now float and spin, we are not limerent. The state is ours until its day of death. You are in my heart, I am in pulse deep. Forever swear our bond until dark sleep. I have 2 hands, but I need 3. One just for you, one for us 2, and one, if I remember, for me, because I forget. Ever since we met, I saw only you, sometimes we two, too. But in the thrall of you and all, I overlooked me. And when it was we, that was all I could see. But you wanted me much more than I did, you see. Embarrassing true story. You don't get letters very often, I find. So when you get an official letter and a card envelope, you think this is important. And I got one of those, and inside there was a certificate for the completion of a dementia course, which I'd done and completely forgotten about. That's right, laugh at the people with... No, I'm kidding. Carry on. This is about dementia. This is called Forget-Me-Nots. Of all the stuff I have forgotten, some details never escape me. The last to leave, the air I breathe, our senses held in common. The scent of you, of morning dew, and love in laundered cotton. What sun remains through fevered fog dances through my eyes. I am not gone, just cannot find the lyrics to my song. Please know that you can only guess at what I still retain, and if I rail against the world, it's never you I blame. For at the heart of all I am, I'm pretty much the same. I'm firmly of the opinion that a lot of people use social media as a way of reassuring themselves that they're not doing as badly as their friends. But few are courageous enough to admit it. I met with you this afternoon ostensibly to see how you are doing. How's your life? Are you unhappier than me? I thought that you had much the same in mind. My disappointment with life's cards were what you hoped to find. It's why we fools use socials, to satisfy us that, compared to us, it's not so good, and on you, fate has shat. I was let down. You're doing great, and joy filled every word. You wished me well and buoyed me up. What a wonderful, wonderful world. Right. Any psychotherapists in today? There's usually one in any room. Anybody have any recent experience of psychotherapy? Okay, you can stop looking at your shoes now, I know you have. Well, if that's the case, you'll identify with this. If not, you can have a cheap laugh at what you imagine it's like. We always hurt the ones we love, they're closest to our truth, primed and yet quite unprepared to be the one that soothes. Outcomes are worst in tantrums, rants and moody sulks. You just don't understand, and I don't see results. Perhaps secure in all but love, unseen they make a scene. Achievements count for nothing when you're stuck at age 15. Every day is a Groundhog Day, relief or analgesic. A rictus grin, another gin, your pain's encyclopedic. Does it sound like you? You're halfway there. Please carry on the digging. You'll find a corpse. It's yours, of course. It's only just beginning. Until then, your ghost will drag their chains around and moan. We're at a breakthrough, me and you. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. And finally, I was talking to some minor pop star who was playing in a venue not a million miles away from here the other day, trading on success from 50 years ago and a song they claim to hate but has paid for their mortgage and the 3 divorces that have followed. And they go, oh, I wish I'd never done that one, because you never know what's going to follow you through your career, and that one that goes inky pinky bonky boo or whatever, it's not what I want to be remembered for. Well, it's the same with me. I wrote a poem a year or so ago and everybody goes, oh, do that one, do that. No, I don't want to do that one, but I have to now for legal reasons. So, as we're in a chapel, I'd like to finish with a prayer, which might sound troubling. I haven't yet been called anything about it. You know the words, you know the rhythm, so if you're thinking of joining in, don't, because you don't know the order I'm going to do them in. This is called the St. Pancras Prayer, New Thanet Parkway version. And before I begin it, I just want to do the quick promotional thing. My name is Nick Goodall, that's Goodall. You'll find me on Facebook and on YouTube, and I do a poem every 2 days. And you can relive this living death if you want to in a couple of days' time. I'm also to be found at thebardofbroadstairs.com, and I perform regularly throughout Thanet and in London. So if you enjoy this, do come back. And I'm also here tomorrow and Friday as well. Let us begin with thoughts for Ashford and for Canterbury West, and for stations on the Dover branch, and all the stops in between, especially plucky little Sturry. From Stratford International to travel through Herne Bay, high speed via Faversham be thy name. Thy Rainham come, strewed will be done in Chatham as it is in Rochester. Give us this day our sitting born, and forgive us our Westgate, as we forgive those who Birchington on sea against us. And lead us not into Ebbsfleet, but deliver us from Margate. For thine is the Bubble, the Chesfield and Swalcliffe, and Gillingham. For Ramsgate, Dumpton, and Broadstairs, Gravesend. Thank you very much, everybody.